and good afternoon. It is the post-match. Here we are. We're here. We're back. We're live, and we have something to smile about for once over the last few weeks. It's a good result called by, I believe, Timuchin and Suzy. Was it?
Yeah, I pulled the hat too. But what are you going to do?
Well, we'll let that one slide. But it was a good performance, at least in the first half. Fell apart a little bit in the second half. I don't want to point fingers. There's no point in pointing fingers, but maybe the Bajcetic just not ready just to get in a game of that magnitude. Probably.
Sabozlai. I'm pointing fingers.
Well, yeah, but the rot set in a little bit before he came on the field. But Bajcetic maybe not the player to hold it together, but it was good to see him nonetheless. A Salah goal from open play, a Robertson goal. Again, we're doing well there. And then Gakpo and then Harvey with a banger, an absolute banger of a goal. So we can't complain, other than maybe not keeping the clean sheet, but we're used to that this season. It's not something to be hugely disappointed about. But yeah, it's me. But Timuchin, a good result. Solidifies third, and then if there's some sort of a collapse, we're mathematically still in with a chance.
Yes.
But that was a more satisfying performance than we've had the last 2 weeks, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that was a fun watch, right? We kind of assumed it was going to be a fun watch. Yeah, I mean, great first half. Probably until the 60th minute, the best we played in a long, long time. And be able to finish at the same time. I think that's the biggest difference, right? There have been games where we played and we created, but we just could not finish. So did that as well. I don't know how much of the credit goes to Spurs and the way they play, enabling us to have all that space, and how much is it about just relaxed minds and rested legs over a week. But either way, I mean, you can't be too critical of the performance overall, at least from like the starters. And then, yeah, I think when we did some changes, maybe thought the game was in hand, which it was obviously, and doesn't really matter if it wasn't. Bajcetic and stuff like that did not look ready. You know, putting Gomez on left, that kind of like the first goal came from there and stuff like that. But that was a fun watch, man, and it's good to see the boys score. Good to see Mo at his best, Elliot at his best, and stuff like that. So.
Brian, it was on the commentary. They didn't want it to end at the end. It was an entertaining game from the neutral, which I believe we might have mentioned before the game. But we had 13 shots on target. That's as dominant as we've been for a while, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it felt like in the first half right there that the Spurs side it was just done. I mean, and then like toward until we put our subs on it, our subs kind of didn't work out as to hold it as well as I thought they would. I mean, I think the Spurs side's potential getting caught by Chelsea because they just seem like they're just out of sync. I mean, you know, Bass had helped them a lot when they got in with there, and I think it was a little bit too much, like you said, with Bajcetic and with Gomez on the left right there. It was kind of hard for them to control them, but I really think that by that point right there was pretty much done. I mean, and then like the last 15 minutes, like I put in Discord, it was like watching the ending of Benny Hill. I mean, it was just like watching. It was like watching this running around. Nobody wanted to control the ball. Nobody wanted to do anything, and that's from both sides. I mean, it was almost like it's basically an end of the type of match.
Suzy, I want to make a special. It's easy to make a special mention of Harvey Elliott, but Kwanzaa was really, really good today, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think we've been saying it most of the season. Kwanzaa, good thing about him, like I think marked up a good player, especially defenders, when you don't really have to mention him, because when you usually mention a defender, it's usually negative, like you know what we've done with like Lovren and Konate recently. He
didn't. Lovren didn't cost us a goal today, so that's a bonus.
Not in Moreno, but yeah, no, he's solid. He's solid, and I just hope the new manager doesn't yard him off or try and loan him out or whatever, because I think he's definitely earned his place in that first team. He can learn a lot from Van Dijk, and he could be the next Van Dijk. He's calm, he's cool. Yeah, he's made mistakes, but he's only 21, and we bought Van Dijk when he was 27. I'm pretty sure Van Dijk made massive errors at his age. which is why really no one significant bought him until we did. But quite Konzo's he's immense, and I think he was got a fight in his hands.
I think wasn't Van Dijk at Celtic when he was 21, so it didn't even matter if he made any mistakes. Nobody's going to take advantage of it. He's playing the Scottish League. Smooching, it was great to see Salah back on form. Had his wrist slapped, as we said, but he looked like he actually enjoyed playing today, which he hasn't for a fair while. Maybe he's one of the ones who's, the Klopp voice is just droning out now at this point in his career. Not through any badness, just as we talked pre-match. You have bosses who will say the same things the same way over and over again, and if you're there long enough, you just start to switch off because you've heard it all before. So perhaps a new manager will see a brand new like swan song Salah for us for the last year or two, whatever we get him for.
Yeah, I mean, there were like rumors last week, right? I don't know how much stock you can put on him in terms of like him staying and stuff like that. But more importantly, I think that, he had a great game in terms of not only what he can do and create. One thing I like, and I think he enjoys playing with Elliott over there too, is Elliott releases him the ball and Mo gets the ball in space. And I don't know if that was all on Elliott or how Spurs were playing, but I feel like he gets the ball too late sometimes when it's like, and so when he gets it, there's already two guys on him, and it feels like, he just dove into two guys and stuff. What I like to play with Elliott, and Trent does the same thing with him, is gets him the ball early, give him that space because he can create for others. One, he gets so much attention himself, and he has that danger of cutting him with the left, and if nothing else, somebody can overlap and he can pick a pass. I know the one that got to come across was actually meant to go to the back post, but that's actually a pretty darn good cross going to the back post and stuff. So with that outside of the foot, he can really distribute the ball well. What the last goal, I think, was an assist, and I think the one that he lays on to Elliott's as well. I mean, he had his assist there. The goal. The Robertson's goal is actually a great throw. I think that's an excellent save, by the way, like an excellent reaction save. I thought that was going in, but yeah, we saw more of the regular, and I think, I don't know, man, like we watch our games, right? And then people are running at Trent like crazy. Like people's wingers isolate our backs and run them at like crazy. And somehow we never do the same aside from with Diaz. And I felt like we were doing it with Mo today, and that's when you get the most out of Mo. Again, I don't know if that credit goes to us, credit goes to Spurs, but either way, we all kind of knew, right, that he was going to start and show a reaction. And yeah, we definitely got it.
Brian Stephen Cook says that Elliott goal, though, and if we took away the goal, as fantastic as it was, Elliott still had a great game overall. But that goal really was the nice big juicy cherry on top of the ice cream sundae on a Sunday.
Oh, absolutely.
On a croissant.
On a croissant, yeah.
On the croissant, yeah.
On the croissant, yeah.
I mean, his press today was so fantastic. I mean, it was just, it's like what Sir Zed, I've been saying for a long time. Play this kid, put him. He deserves a starting spot in my opinion. I mean, I'm not going to go through slate on the player today because it was such a great win right there. But it just on what Elliott has provided for us this season right there. He's earned his spot. He's earned his spot right there in this squad. I mean, the distribution was good. I mean, the amount of pressure that he provided in this match. I mean, and that goal, wow. I mean, that was like listening to like the whole commentary of the what a hit son that we all heard when Gerrard came there and hit that against West Ham. It was the same type of thing right there. It was a pleasure to watch him play.
Suzy, Postecoglou also had, a run, or at least a very bad result coming into it, and he publicly dug out his players indirectly by saying he's going to need new players for next season to prevent those kinds of collapses. So two managers looking for a reaction. Clearly, Klopp got the one he wanted. We saw that throughout the first half. But is Big Ange going to be yet another Spurs managerial casualty come the end of next season, the way that reaction seemed to appear?
I don't think so. I think Spurs will invest. I mean, I'm not sure how much of that Harry Kane money that they did invest, but they have money. And I don't think they're like scrutinized by FFP. So they can spend. So I think they'll probably get 2 or 3 good players because I mean, who would they replace him with? There's really not many good managers out there. Maybe Amarim, he's put himself on the market.
David
but-
Moyes will be available.
There you go.
Who got to Burnley? But
No, you will.
There's really not many good managers out there. I mean, they've got a good manager for what he's done with that team, losing their best player, and it's as far as they've got. I think they've overachieved. If they end up fifth, that's good for them back in Europe. So they have to invest. And he's just saying what every other Spurs manager says. They need good players. They need investments. Not everyone can be Klopp, and what Klopp's done on the budget. And I think it came out. We spent less than 500 million over the last 5 years. Arsenal spent 868, and Man City spent 851 over the last 5 years. That speaks volume of Klopp, and I don't think anyone else can do that.
Timuchin, and there's always just seems to be one player who gets the hoodoo on Liverpool. In my day, it used to be Les Ferdinand for QPR and then Newcastle. You just knew that guy was going to score against us, no matter who. If you played for an under-10s street soccer team, he'd still get goals against Liverpool. He was a pain in the backside again, but we kind of were the agents of our own misfortune for those 2 goals, weren't we?
Yeah, I mean, the first one comes from Gomez letting the run go behind him. Good ball comes across, and it is a relatively easy finish. But I think that's basically what happened. And when we had that momentum going, I think if he keeps those people out there, right, I think that game keeps going like that, and we get 5-6. I don't know if you get a clean sheet, it'll be 6-1 or something like that. You don't want to put money on the clean sheet now, but I think then we were saying, hey, how come these guys did not get a look when we're up by 4 or 5? So he gives Bajcetic shots, knowing, he's come back from injury. I thought it was an excellent game for him to come in because we kind of all expected, I think, for him to be a little bit rusty. And yeah, I mean, when you make so many changes and you put a lot of people in who are trying to show themselves, I think a whole different than, putting somebody in there who's going to just play the system and finish the game off. But you're putting people out there who are trying to show themselves as well, like Gravenberch and stuff like that. You knew there was going to be some kind of a drop off, and they kind of took advantage of that. I mean, that's the thing with Spurs, right? The way they play, these are the kind of games they're always in, it feels like. So either they're going to be getting scored on a lot, or they're going to get a lot of goals. They have the pace up top. I mean, going back to what Sir Z was saying earlier, I mean, I don't think anybody expected them to be even doing this with having lost Kane. Everybody thought it was going to be a bigger drop off, and for them to be now looking over their shoulder though with City game coming up as well. But I think he sticks around and gets a couple of people who fits his style better.
Brian, we don't have to talk too much about Nunez. The evidence of his silliness was there for all to see. However, Gakpo in his place probably had his best game, or at least his best half for a while. I don't think he got himself down even in the second half, other than maybe getting a little bit fatigued. But he really did show us the things that we've been hoping to see again this season. The goal capped it off. It was a fantastic header. But we want to see more of that Gakpo, don't we? We want him to be successful here because maybe his ceiling is higher than Nunez's, even though Nunez is taller.
With Gakpo playing coming out of the left right there is that's where he belongs. I mean, his cross that he put into Mo right there for that goal was a peach. I mean, it was a great cross. I mean, with him. The goal that he scored was just a cap off of his performance, but I really think that that I like him. I like him a lot on that left hand as a left-handed, like a left-sided striker. I think that he's it's a good spot for him. Just curious at how Slot's going to go there and is going to play him. I mean, whether Reed's going to go there and play with a 4-2-3-1 and have him out playing wide back behind or what. I just don't see him being a isolated forward in his type of play. I mean, he's got a little bit of that box to box quality with him right there, but I just don't see him being like a center point type of striker with there. So he's got too much more work rate with him. So I think the future's gonna be bright with him, depending on where we play him at. I mean, and whether Diaz is still going to be around next season or what's going to happen with on there. If Diaz does leave, then I think that left side is definitely Gapco's to have.
So that brings me perfectly onto the point I was going to make next, which is Diaz does an awful lot of work to do very, very little in terms of impact on the game. He's clearly a busy bee, but there are the rumors that Barcelona want to bring him there. If he was to go, would you be devastated by that, or do you think that's an opportunity, as Brian says, for Gakpo to cement that left-sided spot, because he really does perform so much better out there?
I've been disappointed because he is a good player, but I mean, I don't. After the pressure was on him to replace Mane, and I don't see any player out there to replace Mane. I think potentially Somerville at Leeds, maybe, but so I don't hold that same sort of sentiment with Diaz. I think Diaz plays better when he's smiling, and he just hasn't. He doesn't look like he's enjoying himself that much. I mean, if he leaves, it's not. We've got to. We can play Gakpo on the left, and that's his suited position. I think even Nunes plays when he played for Benfica, was better on the left. So I think that left side is fine, unless Salah goes and we put Diaz on the right, and that may be an option.
If that's the case, do you think it's possible we should just give Diaz nitrous oxide before he goes out onto the field? You never smile on his face then.
What happened to Diaz that his passing was excellent today after, like in the past not being able to connect it? He had like 4 or 5 critical, awesome passes, like in the counters and overlaps and stuff like that. But you saw Gakpo today, and I mean, as I look more and more into slot and how he plays and stuff like that, it does feel like Gakpo could be that guy in the middle for him. So we'll see how that goes. But Diaz is probably one guy that's, you look at the squad, especially if you are keeping Mo and, you're keeping the big three that's being talked about, he's probably the only one that's bringing you some money if you're looking to move him. But then you got to replace him because you have Jota, who's, injured very often.
Yeah,
you have Nunez, so he'll be offside on the left-hand side now. But I mean, I do agree that he does play better on the wing as well. But you will need to replace him one way or the other. But he is one that can bring you some cash to spend for slot to invest in.
Tamucci, let me ask you this: Harvey was great in midfield. McAllister was good. Few loose passes here and there. But Endo, the difference between Endo and Bajcetic when they came on was very obvious. Slot really needs to bring in a proper number 6 of prime fitness and athletic age in order for us to do anything, doesn't he? I don't think there's anybody on the squad who can really fulfill that position in their prime rather than somebody who's just past it or just about to get to it.
I think so. I mean, I was talking about this last week. I know like the boys did not fully agree with me on the pod, but I see Endo as Milner. Coming in the 60th, 70th minute on a game like this, and that's when you put Endo in instead of Bajcetic, for example, to close out the game for you. I think when we're trying to open up teams and stuff like that, he's not as valuable and as good on the ball, so he does not help you create at all. So you're now only relying on Trent or only relying on Maka, like for him to come back and get the ball and stuff like that. But I think so. I mean, you look at the squad right now, and I know rumors are already out there and stuff like that, but I mean, you look at the squad, and if you had 2 glaring needs, it's a 6 and a center back. And I honestly, aside from that, I think you kind of like revamped the midfield. There's a lot of potential there. You got Carvalho coming back. So the new manager has a lot of like different parts to play with in midfield. If you have a 6 behind him to kind of keep clean things up. But here's another thing, like he does like having 2 in the back, so he can utilize maybe like Bajcetic and Maka or something like that back there. But yes, I mean, if I had 2 needs for the squad, I would say probably a 6, and definitely we're going to need a center back, clearly.
Coop bidders. Yeah,
bring him along.
I thought Brian just had Tourette's all of a sudden there. I'm so sorry. Speaking of Brian, here's my question, because centre backs brings me nicely and neatly onto today, the past few weeks, and the future. Do you agree with the statement I'm about to make? Because it's something I've been thinking about, is that when Slot comes in, he needs a new captain, because Van Dijk has not been leading this team, in my estimation, through the period of uncertainty over the past few weeks with anything that like we would expect a leader to do. Is it imperative that Slot brings somebody in who's a proper organizational leader and somebody who doesn't go missing when things start to fall apart?
Oh, absolutely. I think we've think pretty much most throughout our whole podcast, we've probably all been repeating the same thing, that with the need for a new captain to go there to steer this ship. I think it's hard to go there put a captain as a defender anyway, just because you play so far from the back. Even though I did say that I think that Allison would have been a good captain because how vocal that he could be. I do.
Yeah, but he's just singing Oasis songs.
Yeah,
that helps.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I think that McAllister has a good shout to be captain. In my opinion, I think that he does put a stamp on the match, even though he does go quiet some right there. But I'm one of this feeling that that captain is always better in the midfield, because you can see in front of you, behind you, and you can organize more toward that center part of the pitch. So I mean, so it's got to be somebody who could be in that. It's obviously not Szoboszlai, because I mean, I don't think he's a captain. Even though he's a captain for the Hungarian team, I don't think he puts enough stamp on the match on matches. But McAllister definitely does. I don't think that Trent is ready to be captain if Trent is ever going to be ready to be captain of the side. I mean, some players start meant to go through to do it. I just don't know whether that's where he's at. But yeah, I mean, definitely, I agree with you. I think that we need to look toward having a new captain coming in the next season.
Having said that, I mean, I've given Van Dijk some slack on how he's captain at times and stuff like that as well. But is it very, very difficult right now to be the captain of this team?
Oh, absolutely.
Replacing Henderson for one. And that was more of like an, iconic captain for like 3-4 years in terms of how he was a captain, and Milner. And not to mention, this has become suddenly Klopp's team on and off the pitch, I feel like, especially with the announcement. So I don't know if anybody was going to be able to grab the reins and say, hey, I'm the leader over here, being the situation we're in. Would next year having a Dutch guy in charge, blah, 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 would be more of a test for him, and not to mention more of an experience now that he has been a captain for a year. It's not like Henderson was the captain that he was instantly either.
But
but just, I don't mean to step on you there, Brian, but just if you remember back to when Gerrard in the 2013-14 season, there's that famous bit with what's his name, Diego Costa, that little face-off with Jordan Henderson. Gerrard was the captain in that game, but Jordan Henderson looked him down and said, like, you want to go, I'll go with you right now. And it didn't matter who had the captain's armband. He was standing up for his team and himself. You don't really get that impression, Brian, do you, with Van Dijk, unless things are in his favor.
Exactly.
But I don't think he can. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, exactly. I agree with you totally, Mac. You just don't get that same type of thing that you would with that you from Verge. You don't get that. I'm going to go and throw myself in and say, "Hey, this is my squad." I've yet to see that from Verge. I saw it from Verge a couple of seasons ago. I still see that from now. I don't. It's like after Verge came back from that injury streak, it's like a different type of player with him. I mean, he's back to playing a lot more like he did, but he doesn't just have that same type of mentality and drive that he had prior to that, where he's up in your face kind of thing right there. It's more of a kind of I'm going to sit back kind of reaction.
But do you guys then say Van Dijk is going to leave in the offseason? Because I don't see a new manager coming in and saying that's the first change I'm doing.
Yeah, no way. I don't think he'll be stripped of captaincy.
I don't think he will.
He's a Netherlands captain, and with all the other players, I don't even think they'll want to take the captaincy off him.
Yeah.
Because how do you strip it off him and then you're playing with him? It just changes the dynamics of their relationship with the whole entire squad.
I mean, dude is already replacing Klopp, so he's gonna have his hands full. Why create additional drama for himself? And it would be additional drama unless Van Dijk is gone.
Is it possible to see though that maybe Slot can bring in somebody to be vice captain who does all that dirty work, like a Steve McMahon type who's going to go and throw some digs and some kicks in to get the team going, but without necessarily having to get rid of Van Dijk as the actual.
And then unofficial, like a pitch captain, you're saying?
Yeah, a pitch captain almost.
Yeah. So what does Trent do? I mean, I don't.
Yeah, but he's not a player that gets you. Like Trent doesn't go around kicking players if they're misbehaving against us. Whereas, like you expect your captain, as I said with Hendo, to stand in and go, we're not having this today.
Yeah,
well, you know what I mean. Trent is not that
like what Carragher did with Gerrard.
Yeah.
He definitely needs.
You'd almost expect Robertson to be that player, but I have a feeling Robertson understands that nobody knows what he's saying, so it has no effect anyway.
But we don't have another player.
I mean, that's the thing. You get a number 6 that is, that guy kind of controls the middle of the field with physicality and stuff like that, and kind of understands Slot's system. Maybe it's somebody who plays with him or whatever. Then I can see that, but it would be like kind of what you're saying, Mac. I would be like an unofficial guy on the pitch, kind of like what Hendo did then, right? I mean, he was not the captain. But, you got to kind of have a, enforcer, if you will, out there that can kind of do that for you.
No, because I don't think Souness started as the captain of Liverpool. I think Phil Neal was the captain, but Souness was the enforcer. He was the one that went around. Literally, we have the YouTube videos now punching players in the face when the ref wasn't looking, just to keep them in line.
No, that was the same with Gerrard and Carragher. Carragher just, Gerrard was a different type of captain, but I don't know who you get. I mean, like I said, but Robertson would be the ideal choice, but I don't think you're officially going to strip Trent of the vice captaincy.
No.
I don't think anyone, unless you sell Van Dijk, I don't really see a new captain.
But with the Carragher and Gerrard kind of duo right there, Carragher kind of led that defense to the back, where Gerrard led up toward the midfield and moving up toward the forward. So it's kind of like a divided responsibilities right there. And I don't think that, which makes it really hard with Van Dijk from being back in the defense. Those responsibilities are divided right there. So you're seeing a whole entire pitch and trying to manage that process through there right there. And it's pretty difficult right there for a captain. And also, it's hard right now between what the roles of a modern day captain are anyway. I mean, versus like the captain that we remember from back even from 10 years ago, 15 years ago. The roles are so different now as far as like what they want to do. I mean, with the rise of how the professionalism and how the international audience are, it's different right there. I mean, so maybe to talk myself in a circle right there, maybe Van Dijk right there is the right type of captain right there for this side.
Reminds of Alan Hansen, because Alan Hansen was very similar, just calm, cool. You didn't see him get into players, and he's growing up when I was a kid. He was one of the best captions.
He had Steve McMahon in front.
But he had Steve McMahon. Exactly.
Like as apart from the '88 Cup final, as it was always the famous thing back. I remember was anytime we played Wimbledon, the first player that got kicked was Vinnie Jones, and the first player to kick him was Steve McMahon. So maybe we're just lacking an enforcer rather than a captain. In those terms.
And I mean that's the thing. I think when you look at the poor run, it's not like that's because we didn't have captains. And going back to I think Brian is right here where. I mean, you look at the squad back in the day, right? You had a captain, maybe somebody with, significance and like one of the big boys, the main guys and stuff like that. Whereas now, I mean, the Premier League you have like 5-6 international team captains. So it's hard to captain a captain, if you will. So you captain them in a different way than back in the day. You're not going to go slap around a guy who is a captain of his own national team so these guys are professionals, so most of them are like captains on their national team. You just need somebody to kind of lead by example and kind of keep the troops together. I really feel like a lot of the minds being gone is not really on like Van Dijk or anything like that. I think it's just like the overall drama of the season and everything else. I know Anand, for example, says Maka, but if you watch anything with Maka, the guy's like a mouse. He's not to say.
I'm at the very least, I'm a very hefty beaver.
They're more like a rat.
Let me throw this controversial question out though, because it's something I've thought. We don't have to put forward Alisson's case. He is the best keeper in the club and definitely in probably the best in the world. But was it a mistake dropping Kelleher so quickly when he came back from injury, and maybe keeping Kelleher with the hot hand, so to speak, because we haven't kept a clean sheet with Alisson, have we?
But we didn't keep a clean sheet much with Kelleher either, though.
Nope.
We only lost one game with Kelleher.
I mean, you look back.
As much as I can't feel like to say I wouldn't keep. Oh, go ahead, Timo.
I mean, like you look at I think like Alisson is still like 5th or something like that in the league with clean sheets, despite being out for like months. So I don't agree with that at all. I mean, you can't look at any game and say, yeah, if Kelleher was there, which is
no. But I'm not talking about today's game. I'm talking about everything.
No, I mean, in a lot of the games, like any of the goals that Alisson has conceded, I don't say, if Kelleher was still in, he would save that. Whereas I do say the reverse. I think if Kelleher plays in the Atalanta game, I mean, if Alisson plays in the Atalanta game, I think we do a lot better. We don't concede some of those goals. So, for me, it would be like a no. That's a no for me, bro.
It's a no for me also right there. I mean, it's definitely a hard no for me.
That's the end of the show. Goodbye, everyone. No, I'm kidding.
No, I think that Alisson earned his spot. He's our number one. I mean, and if he's fit and he's ready to go, then then he should be the starting keeper. I mean, like Tamusha said right there in that Atalanta match, I don't think some of those goals would have came there went through. With them, I think that Kelleher. I'm not going to go there and say that he isn't probably like the top 5, top 10 of the keepers in our league right now, but he's not Alisson. I mean, that's clear and simple. And I think that what to do with Kelleher is going to be probably another day right there. But I think that we need to somehow keep Kelleher in our books right there, just so we can go out there and say either he's like a load, like a long-term load, something like that, that he gets more playing time, but we have to keep him because I do think that he's got the potential to be our future number one.
Suzy, let me ask you this: the end of the game when they were showing, the walking off of the pitch and all that, and showing Klopp doing his fist pump to the cop, he spent an awful lot of time shaking hands. And I said in the Discord channel that the last game is going to be 5 hours of Jurgen Klopp high-fiving everybody. If for a lot of people that may have been the last time seeing Jurgen Klopp at Anfield, then maybe their one and only time to see him this season, possibly. But that last game is going to be a hefty amount. We might not even be able to do a post-match. It'll be that emotional.
We should do it after long.
It'll be just us crying. It'll be just one big 2-hour thing of us crying. But now reality's starting to set in, isn't it? It's 2 more games and then that's the end of the year.
Yeah, and he looks like he's enjoying it now. I think all the stress and pressures are off. Like, we've got 3rd place cemented, Champions League cemented. He achieved this season what they set out to do. I know obviously we want to win everything, but being where we were last year to now, in the cold out of day, it's we achieved a lot of what we wanted. We just wanted to get the top 5. We thought top 5 against Champions League, but we ended up 3rd. I really hope Man City win the league now. I can't handle Arteta winning this league. I can't handle Arsenal fans winning the league. I can't. I can't do it.
Maybe they both get points deductions.
Hopefully.
Here's my question. Then just before we wrap it up, would it be a nice poetic irony if Arsenal did happen to win the league and Man United then won the FA Cup, so that Man City left the entire season with absolutely nothing?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So definitely you don't want Arsenal to win anything.
Yeah,
all Man United. All Man United. No.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, it is. It is a bitter pill to swallow.
I mean, I definitely think Saints will probably do the double. I think that just that run of matches that City has, it's just I just don't see them coming there losing that. The way they played yesterday, I just don't see it. I mean, once they get their game at hand on Arsenal, it's a wrap then right there. I mean, Lego Head will just be in second again right there, and cry and try to put his pieces back together, like he always does.
I mean, look at they have what, Spurs, West Ham. What's the third game they have for City? I mean, because you see Spurs today, City would pick them apart as well. I think the way they play.
Yeah.
It's going to be a similar game. I would think like a 4-2 or something. You saw West Ham already like call it a season and like booking their vacations. I can't remember the third team they have
Spurs,
left.
They have West
Ham, and Fulham.
Yep.
And then Fulham, yeah. I mean, it looks like, here's the thing. If it was us chasing them, you would hold hope because they're on paper tough opponents, but not the current situations there. And then I think I'm with Sir Z over here. Anybody but Arteta at this point.
Oh, God, yeah.
And so before we wrap it up, then we go Brian, Sir Z, and Tamuchin. Final thoughts on this nice Sunday where we get a nice little win and a bit of entertainment.
It's a good relief right there, to know all the stress is off. It was just fun just to watch the match and not be overly critical, and just say, hey, you know what, we've already got third basically wrapped up, already got Champions League backed up, we've got silverware ready, done. I mean, just sit back and enjoy these last couple of matches right there. It's the end of an era. It's a page getting turned right there for our club right there. So we just sit back and enjoy it. And maybe one day Nunez will go there and learn how to stay on side.
Sci-fi.
Final thoughts on the game?
It was a good game. It was a good start to the week. I can enjoy my week. I know we had third place anyway, but if we'd have lost, I still can't handle the loss. Even if we won the league and we lost the game, I'd still be pissed. So, but no, it's a good start to the week. Harvey, he should cement that place in his, him and Maka and one other. I think they've shown it. And it's just counting down the last 2 games now.
Before we get to Muchin's last thoughts, I just want to point out that Rice would have probably signed for us for a year and then switched and turned around and gone to Everton or United. Because that's what he does.
Don't say Rice to an Irish guy. I mean, that.
Muchin, final thoughts on the game?
That was like a fun watch, right? But in usual fashion, like I was like, sit back and watch. And I even told my wife, who knows me too well, like I go to these over 35 games, like when I play, and I was like, I'm just gonna take it easy tonight. She's like, yep, sure. The moment the game started, it was just like, come on, man, let's go. And then I was really, really pleased though, like watching that team play, and it was just like, it's a mixed feeling though, right? You're like, so awesome, and part of me still says, where the fuck was this the last couple of weeks? Yep. But it is what it is. You got to kind of take it, enjoy these last couple of weeks. Hopefully the very last home game will be like this too, because that will be like a nice send off for Klopp as opposed to, like Gerrard's last game and stuff like that. So
as long as the club doesn't get suspended, if he gets a yellow,
I can see the Premier League doing something like that too.
Just to piss him off.
He'll sit in the first seat behind the dugout. What are they going to do then? Suspend him for next season? Well, it just right to say a good game, entertaining game if you're neutral, I'm sure. A great result for Liverpool. Top 3 at least secured, possibly on route for a top 2 finish, which would be great too. But we have the morning coffee to discuss more of that stuff and any of the news that's coming out, and the Monday podcast tomorrow evening. We also have our usual regular shows during the week, and myself and Brian at least on Thursday talking about the Nunez. This is and there's offsides. That's why not just have a whole show about chat. The weekly Nunez chat, and then also our Patreon. Make sure you're on that, liking and subscribing us for YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and that whatever X is calling itself this week, Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Machine. I hope that will be a much better name than what they have now. But we will be back on our usual programming starting from tomorrow. It's a nice day, so we're not going to play the 70s power music. We're going to get out with a nice little bit of trap, just for the fun of it all. Have a good Sunday, everybody. Enjoy the week.
Enjoy your week.